Hello, my name is Tan Nguyen, and today we will explore case study 1B together. So for case study 1B scenario, you have a possible infectious condition that you're embarrassed to discuss with the physician with whom you work. You have worn artificial nails for several months now and notice that the one on your left ring finger falls off regularly. The real nail underneath has become white and chalky, and the skin around the nail is beginning to have little white lines in it and look a little bit chalky as well. Before we move on to our analysis of our scenario, we have two important words to break down. The first word is dermatophyte. Dermatophytes are a group of fungi that basically love keratin, which is the protein that makes up our skin, hair, and nails. The main types are trichophytin, microsporum, and epidermophytin. These fungi can cause infections like ringworm and fungal nail infections because they're really good at breaking down keratin and using it as food. They grow as tiny branching filaments and make spores that help them spread. Next, we have the word niche. When we talk about a microbe's niche, we just mean the environment where it thrives. For dermatophytes, the perfect niche is anything made of keratin, so the outer layers of the skin, hair, and the nail surface. Their enzymes and structure are perfectly suited to living and growing in those areas. For our first case study question, we have, what disease do you suspect and explain why? So based on the symptoms, the condition we suspect here is onychomycosis, also called tinea unguium, which is a more professional term for a fungal nail infection, and it's usually caused by dermatophytes, especially the trichophytin species. The clues make it clear. The person has been wearing artificial nails for months. The nails keep falling off. The real nail underneath looks white and chalky. Even the surrounding skin is starting to show those same white powdery streaks. All that is an indicator for a fungal nail infection. Artificial nails trap moisture and create small amounts of nail damage, and that gives fungi the perfect opportunity to move in. The fungus actually invades the top layers of the nail, breaks it down, and that's why it looks flaky or powdery. It's because the nail is literally being digested. Here we have case study question number 2. Can you treat this yourself with an over-the-counter drug, or do you need to see a physician? For this kind of nail infection, it's best to see a physician rather than trying to treat it on your own with over-the-counter creams. Most over-the-counter antifungals don't work well on nail infections because they can't get through the thick nail plate to reach the fungus underneath. A healthcare provider can confirm the diagnosis, usually with a fungal culture, because treatment can take months and some of the medications have potential side effects. For fingernail infections, the most effective treatment is usually an oral antifungal like terbinafine, which you need a prescription for. There are also prescription topical treatments like efinaconazole or cyclopirox, but they take a long time to work and don't always fully clear the infection. If the infection isn't fully cleared, this leaves the chance for reinfection. If the infection were very mild or only on the surface, a physician might suggest starting with a topical option, but specifically in this case, since the nail is loosening and the surrounding skin is also involved, it's definitely something that should be checked and treated by a medical professional. Here is case study question number 3. You see cures for this condition mentioned on TV and on the internet. Do you think they work? When it comes to nail fungus, it's a good idea to be skeptical about the cures you see on TV or online. A lot of home remedies, like vinegar soaks, tea tree oil, or hydrogen peroxide, have plenty of anecdotal success stories, but very little solid clinical evidence behind them. Some of these things do show mild antifungal activity in lab settings, but that doesn't always translate into real reliable results on an actual infected nail. Right now, the treatments that consistently They work best are prescription medication, especially oral antifungals like terbinafine. Some prescription topical treatments can help too, but they take time and their success rates may vary. So overall, it's important to talk with a healthcare provider before committing to a long treatment plan based on something you saw as advertised, especially because infection is usually embedded in the nail bed. Here we have case study question number 4. What other conditions are caused by dermatophytes? Mycosporum, trichophyton, and epidermophyton. What is special about them that makes them capable of thriving in their anatomical niche on their host? Dermatophytes don't just infect nails. They're responsible for a whole range of tinea infections. You probably heard of some of these. For example, tinea pedis is athlete's foot. Tinea corpus is the classic ringworm rash on the body. Tinea crurus is jock itch. Tinea capitis affects the scalp, and tinea barbae affects the beard area. And of course, onychomycosis is the fungal nail disease. All these infections are basically named tinea plus the body part they affect. So why do dermatophytes love these specific spots? In other words, anatomical niches on the body. First, they feed on keratin, which is the main protein in our skin, hair, and nails. They make special enzymes like keratinases that let them break down keratin and use it as food. They're also perfectly adapted to living on the outer layers of the body. They grow as thin, branching filaments that stay in the superficial skin layers or the nail plate. Another reason they spread so easily is that their spores and hyphoid fragments can survive on things like towels, shoes, floors, and nail tools. Once they land on a keratin-rich area, they have everything they need to grow, especially in warm, moist, dark environments like inside shoes or under artificial nails. Here we begin the pathogen profile. The main organism responsible for this infection is Trichophyton rubrum, which is a type of dermatophyte fungus. When it causes diseases, we usually name the infection based on the body part it affects. So, if it infects the nails, we call it Tinea unguium, or otherwise known as onychomycosis. And here we have a picture of the Trichophyton rubrum on the side. Trichophyton rubrum is a type of fungus, specifically a dermatophyte, which basically means it loves to live on keratin. Instead of existing as a single round cell like yeast, it grows as long thread-like filaments called hyphae. These hyphae are septate, meaning they're divided into little sections, and because it's a mold, it grows slowly in culture on standard fungal media. Under the microscope, trichophyton forms a few different structures. It has tiny microconidia that are shaped like little clubs or pears and often appear in clusters along the hyphae. It can also make longer macroconidia, which are thin-walled and more elongated. Another structure it produces is arthroconidia. These look like chains of small rectangular barrel-shaped cells. Trichophyton rubin has a few key features that help it infect and stick around. First, it grows as hyphae and produces conidia, which makes it really good at spreading and surviving on skin, nail, and surfaces. It also makes keratinases and other protease enzymes, which basically break down keratin, so it can digest and invade our nails, skin, and hair. Some strains can even form biofilms, especially on nails or artificial surfaces, which helps them hang on longer and makes infections harder to treat. What the infection looks like really depends on where it shows up. On the nails, you might see discoloration, white, yellow, or even brown, along with thickening, brittleness, chalky patches, and debris under the nail. Sometimes the nail starts lifting off the nail bed or can even crumble or fall off if the infection gets really bad. Although this case mainly focuses on nails, I thought I'd mention other symptoms elsewhere since this infection can occur on the skin or hair as well. On the skin or hair, it often causes classic ring-shaped rashes with a scaly raised edge, otherwise known as tinea corporis. It can also cause athlete's foot between the toes or scaly patches on the scalp that can lead to hair loss. People usually notice itching, peeling, and irritation. In some cases, there can be pain or even a secondary bacterial infection. Here we have a picture of typical fungal nail infection symptoms. Next, we're going to talk about mode of transmission and portal entry. Trichophytum rubrum spreads really easily through direct contact, either with an infected person or even an infected animal. It can also spread indirectly through things like shared nail tools, shoes, towels, gym mats, basically anything that can hold onto skin cell fragments. The fungus enters through the outer layer of the skin or the nail, usually where there's a little bit of damage or irritation. Tiny cuts, rubbing from tight shoes, or even warm, moist space under artificial nails can give it the perfect opening to start growing. To diagnose a dermatophyte nail infection correctly, physicians usually confirm it with a fungal culture or by looking at nail clippings under the microscope. This is important because the treatment can be very long, so you want to make sure you're treating the right thing. When it comes to treatment, the most effective option for true dermatophyte onychomycosis is oral antifungal medication, especially terbinafine. It can take several weeks or even a few months depending on whether the infection is in the fingernails or toenails. Itraconazole is another oral option that can be used in some cases. For milder or more superficial infections, there are topical treatments like efinaconazole or cyclopyrox nail lacquer, but these usually need to be applied daily for a long time and work best in very, very mild cases. Along with medication, there are helpful non-drug measures, such as trimming or debriding thick nails, keeping feet and nails dry, avoiding artificial nails when infected, and disinfecting nail tools. There's no vaccine for this infection, and prevention mainly comes down to good hygiene. Here are my references. Some more references continued. And here we are reaching the end. To sum up, in this presentation, trichophyton rubrum was the cause for case study scenario 1B, a fungal nail infection. Overall, understanding dermatophytes and infections like this onychomycosis helps us recognize how these fungi work, how they spread, and why proper diagnosis and treatment matter. Thank you so much for listening to me today.